You're listening to the Digital Deep Dive, where we tackle the newest trends, strategies, and pain points shaping growth across the digital landscape. From Amazon and D2C to international expansion, join our host and e-commerce leaders across multiple industries for in-depth discussions on how to maximize your brands in the digital arena. Now, here's your host, Aaron Conant.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to Digital Deep Dive Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Conant, and today we're going to talk about fulfillment. And we're going to talk about fulfillment because TikTok is blowing up right now. We're at a point now, I think people realize it's going to be around. We can't just put it on the back burner any longer. And there's a significant amount of sales being driven on the platform, both on platform, but also a recent statistic that popped up that for every one on TikTok purchases, 3 are driven off platform, primarily to Amazon. At the same time, we have Amazon not taking a lot of price increases due to tariffs. I have more people than ever moving to third party, and fulfillment across the board is ramping up again. And so we've got a longtime friend, Corey, a partner, support of the network, Corey, over at Davinci Micro Fulfillment, who I reached out to say, hey, can you help us explain what's going on, what best in class looks like, what people have to look for 2026? And he said, of course. And so here we are. Corey, it's great to have you back. I don't mind. You want to take a couple minutes and tell everybody about yourself and Davinci Micro Fulfillment and everything you guys do, and then we can kind of jump into a bunch of questions I have.
Absolutely. This is my favorite time to spend with you on the podcast. There's nobody more respected and more knowledge in the industry than you, Aaron, and I'm humbled that I got the phone call here. But thank you. Yeah, I'm the CEO of Davinci Micro Fulfillment. I've been on this podcast before, but for those of you who don't know me, Davinci Micro Fulfillment is a network of physical locations that we built, our buildings that we pick, pack, and ship from. That's backed by our technology that helps brands integrate into every online marketplace and uses predictive inventory control so that we can quarterback where the inventory needs to be placed and then understand what the shopping cart may or may not look like to help put the right assortment of product on the right marketplace and channel. And ultimately what you get is this output that's a higher conversion and a lower total cost of fulfillment. And the whole key is to move inventory closer to the end customer, which is what everyone's trying to do right now. It's what you alluded to earlier, Aaron. What you're seeing with Amazon. There's news this week that talked about the launch of Amazon Now, which is a little bit of a reincarnation of Prime Now that Amazon had many years ago, and kind of a new take on what Amazon shut down last year and what was called Amazon Today. And it's ultimately getting these same day facilities for these very high turn, high convenience type items to compete against the GoPuffs and the DoorDashes of the world. But any marketplace is going to benefit from getting inventory closer to the customer. And that's what all these folks are trying to do right now. And if you can use a single source of inventory and put the right item at the right channel closer to the end consumer so that it's available for purchase with a same day, 1 day, 2 day delivery, kind of, at max, but precise is better than on time. Precise is better than speed, ultimately. Like that's really the key in the core. That's what we're helping brands with today. Davinci's network that has 6 micro fulfillment centers, very strategically placed within a 1 day, 2 day radius for the majority of the US, has never been growing faster. Black Friday, Cyber Monday was well over 80% growth for our brands. The majority of our customers get product in 1 day time frame delivered from our micro fulfillment centers. Amazon Prime on Vendor and Seller Central, Walmart 1 day, TikTok 1 day, Shopify next day deliveries, all with local, regional, and national carriers. And it's a really exciting time to be in the industry because there's been a lot of back and forth in supply chain and fulfillment over the past few years. The industry's done nothing but grown. However, it's growing at a really rapid rate right now due to tariffs and onshoring, due to Amazon rules in terms of FBA shutting down and being over capacity also. So if you don't prep items yourself, Amazon won't take them starting January 1. And what I was referring to by shutting down, TikTok doesn't have the same number of physical locations for their own FC network as Amazon. The Walmart stores, Target stores have a major advantage, but even Target is moving things out of the store into mixing centers for these next day deliveries that are really driven primarily overnight by their carrier base. So there's all these changes happening in the environment right now, and it all revolves around getting inventory closer to the customer with micro fulfillment centers.
Yeah, I don't think it's ever been more of a must-have. It's than it is, I think, heading into 2026, and I do think a lot of it is driven by TikTok. I do. I also think the other side of it is Amazon, right? Like you're saying, shutting off packaging prep on a third-party side, kitting, bundling, bagging, stickering, whatever it might be, is gone. And so if you don't have these things in place, the other thing is like overall assortment as well, right? Like if you're getting pushed out, if you're getting to third party and you're selling onesie twosies of an $8 item that you could kit or bundle, I don't know. Like I've got 1,500 questions here, and it's probably enough for like 5 podcasts. But where should we start? What is number one thing brands need to think about? Is it Amazon? This new announcement you're talking about, Amazon Now. Is it the package prep, or is it multi-channel? So the
I
sales.
think it's an and commentary and not a or commentary. It's not how do I do one or the other. It's how do I do them and the other, right? So I think that's really important for brands to understand. And you need density. This is why Amazon shut off Amazon today. This is why TikTok is outsourcing a lot of the fulfillment. Like density is key. TikTok's actually kind of coming the other way now, where they're really trying to incentivize.
And when you say density, what do you mean by that?
Volume, unit
Right.
volume, package volume. That's the
Okay.
key for low cost. And there's 2 keys, right? One is getting that inventory placed so that the final parcel is closest to that final destination so that there's less touches and it needs to travel a shorter distance with a local, regional, or national carrier. A national carrier is your UPS, FedEx, Post Office, which has seen nothing but increases recently in price. Regional carriers are your 350 miles and in, which is your GLSs, your VHOs, your better trucks, like these carriers that have a gig or delivery service provider DSP type network or their own fleet and assets. It's maybe one sort and then to a final delivery after it's been picked up from the first mile. And then ultimately you have your local carriers, which is your Uber, your DoorDash, et cetera. That's more of a point-to-point, 0 to 50 miles type of delivery where there's no sort in between and it's just going right to the customer's home or the final destination from the origin. And all 3 of those methodologies of delivering products are critical in today's ecosystem. And a lot of these local and regional carriers are taking real share away from the giant national carriers. And that's not even including Amazon, right? Amazon's taking share away from Post Office. Their Swash ships with Amazon carrier base, and they're really trying to attack that rural zip code. And they're also really going after the lower weight classes of deliveries. But all of these carriers have a different reason, a different product type, a different package level detail, like that they would be used to deliver for one marketplace or another. However, if you don't have your inventory closer to that final destination, it's hard to take advantage of that. And if you don't have the right amount of density, the right amount of package volume, it's hard to get the right price. And then your middle mile costs, or just even getting the carrier to come pick up to you in general, is going to be really challenging and really difficult. So a company like Davinci, who can aggregate these packages that are already placed closer to the end customer against these multiple marketplaces on the similar inventory sets, forget about what the assortment is. That just creates the ability to convert at a higher price point and a higher conversion because it's what the customer actually wants from that demographic. That ultimately gives an output of more volume and more density that is a lower cost to handle to the brand, who can now control their own destiny by having inventory in a national prime-like presence for a same-day, 1-day, and 2-day delivery across any marketplace. 7 days a week
platform
at any
the
time.
TikToks. Okay. So is it a profitability play?
It's both a profitability and a capability play. It's both a quality play. It's a customer experience play. It's a sustainability play. It's a data play. You can't do anything with that first party data, but you can compare it against who's buying and who you're advertising towards on an Instagram, a Facebook, whatever it may be. You can't market to those customers, of course. That's rule number 1, but you can see it, right? So there's real brands that are starting to understand this now, and like they don't have fulfillment strategies. And we're talking to more brands than ever about how you aggregate an operational output with a marketing efficacy. And like you have this paradox ultimately of, does marketing drive operations, right? And the answer is yeah, it does. And does operations drive marketing? Yeah, it does.
So what's the number one thing people miss then? Like, because if the e-commerce team sits in this unique spot, right, where they may have the sales side or the website, their Amazon or digital marketing, but then on the fulfillment piece is historically outside of your small startup direct consumer brands is sitting outside. And so it's just something they expect it to just have happen. And traditionally, they just try to push this on a traditional 3PL, maybe Amazon fulfillment services, Walmart, whoever it might be. How does that influence take place? Like, what is the argument that they take, or what is the business case they need to take? Because I agree with you, like you need to be able to hit all of these different marketplaces. You're putting your brand wherever the customer is, right? That's a huge thing right now. Obviously, it's been there forever, but we have the opportunity to do it now more than ever with TikTok and make a sale, or Meta platforms and make a sale, or Amazon or Walmart direct consumer. You can be literally anywhere. The last step of that piece is actually delivering the product.
Right. Yeah. Well, you said it before, right? Like for every purchase made on TikTok, there's 3 purchases made off TikTok's platform, right? Typically on Amazon, probably Shopify is right after that, maybe in store, depending on the brand, maybe not. So if you think about that, like you have to fish where the fish are, right? So you can't just sell the same item everywhere. So you have to put the right assortment of product at the right channel. Once you have that merchandising cadence figured out, then it's like working backwards to the buying habits of those customers and what converts for that price point, that category, that channel, and what is the service level to convert. So Amazon, as an example, not to keep going back to that, and TikTok's right there with it. So is Walmart. Not like a value-driven product delivery, which is like, call it like post office, like 5 to 7 days, just ship from Florida to California. It's gonna be the lowest, most basic conversion. The second you go to a 2-day delivery, you start converting like 15+% higher. The second you go to a next day delivery or same day delivery, you're in like the 25 to 30% conversion increase over and beyond that. No flag at all, right?
There's the perception that costs more money. There's the perception that costs more money. Are you saying that?
But it doesn't. It actually doesn't cost more money. Now, in some product types, it might. If you have a less than 1 pound item, it's really expensive to get that anywhere. And in most cases, the FBAs and the WFSs of the world are going to be pretty cheap dates for that type of product. They're built for that, But once you get over 4 pounds, like it starts becoming really profitable to have a fulfillment strategy. And then, you asked the question earlier of like, well, why would a brand come to somebody like Davinci? Amazon's out of capacity right now in most of their locations. You can't get any more inventory in. So if you're a brand that has 10 more days of selling and you're doing like 300% of your revenue in this several week period, that's a real big problem. You just lost like half of your selling year because you couldn't get more inventory into FBA. So you're reliant on this one way to do things. And even if you're not Prime enabled, you still need to have that fulfilled by merchant muscle. Similar thing with TikTok, right? Like there's only so much capacity. Like tariffs have created this front loading issue for all of these brands where they rushed all this inventory in. And if you didn't discount it this year during Black Friday, Cyber Monday, or the first Prime Day, or even the second Prime Day that happened, a lot of consumers were waiting and they weren't converting because they were waiting for it to go on sale. That's why you had this huge hockey stick effect. But during Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and Shopify, which was very heavy, like apparel and beauty based in terms of like top revenues that were sold, there were big discounts that happened, but a lot of the orders weren't necessarily higher, but the dollars amount were because of tariffs. So there were inflated prices because of tariffs. Orders were down in some categories and merchants. And as a result of that, you then had this even greater drop off when the discounting stopped because brands could only afford to do so much. So, what are the other levers that you can pull if you want to make more money, right? You have to lower your operational costs, stop spending money on advertising. But if you get inventory closer to the end customer, that's one lever you have. If you create purposeful kits and bundles that drive up your ASP, that's another lever you have. But you still have to be competitive in what you sell out there. But these are things that even when tariffs, if they go away, when they go away, who knows, are going to be real realities of the business. And like, you can see this data live. And like, a lot of this data is like, it's more prevalent right now, especially, AI and just like, everyone's use of data and tools and infrastructure and technology is so much more advanced than it was last year and like 10 years ago, forget about it. But this stuff still held true 10 years ago. It just wasn't as like known or thought about.
So if I'm a brand now, like what is so we say go omni-channel, but the thread I'm going to pull here is, okay, so I'm everywhere. Different maybe demographics on each platform. Therefore, different product offerings on every platform. Then man, it just gets more and more complicated, right? Like, but you have to do it.
It's an orchestration. So, when, you hear like the trumpet player and the percussionist and the violin playing at once, it sounds really complex. But each one of those people in their own silo is doing something that they've done repeatedly over and over and over again. And it's second nature to them. And I look at the supply chain very similar to that. It's like all of these things that you do very, very well in tandem together creates the output of this orchestration of an on-time delivery, right? You can't just like have an on-time delivery without pulling an order and getting it into your system and having labor there and having the right supplies there and having the right carriers there and having the right cost of those carriers to go deliver on time. Like there's all these things that happen in tandem, and it's like an output of good planning and good technology and good systems and process and people that make that repeatable over and over and over again. When you can do that over and over and over again, you start building density and trust and quality and things like that, right?
Yeah. So can we tackle, because I like to keep these under 30 minutes at this point in time. What's going on with...
That's hard to do with me and you.
I know, right? I know, right? Like I said, I got 17. We'll have to do another one of these. So if we wrap up this piece, I couldn't agree with you more that you have to be available everywhere. You have to be able to now not just create the right ads, because that's how people traditionally think about it. Hey, am I getting the right content in front of the right people? But now on the different platforms, the ability to offer the right kit, bundle, product, whatever it might be. And as Amazon's removed stuff, those capabilities, we need to step back in, and then you can do this then on any platform, right? Then it's got to be deployed close, especially now. And I don't think Amazon's going to start building more like warehouses. I don't see that at all. I think they actually want to own less. In the number of people,
they want to get more precise with their inventory accuracy and turn that inventory and make it turn for them better. But they do want to keep getting inventory closer, so they may limit the size of some of their bigger boxes and then continue with these same day really precise opportunities. And I think what they've seen from that is higher profitability, more repeat purchases, better control. It's not just offering that 30-minute delivery for everything. It's the milk, the eggs, the CPG, the diapers, like that type of stuff. That's what's in here, right? They're also, I think, going to make more use of their Whole Food stores. And as they continue to bring in like more mass items into Whole Food stores, I think those are going to become their own micro fulfillment centers, like as a Target store or a Walmart store would be. That comes with its own set of challenges, but I can foresee some of that also happening on some level.
Yeah.
Real estate perspective.
Awesome. The Amazon program that you mentioned, would love to hear thoughts on that. So it's not Prime Now. I remember Prime Now back in the day.
Yeah, it's the reincarnation of Prime Now. I think Prime Now is maybe trying to compete with like the clubs, the Costco's of the world, and you had to like build the box, right? So you built that product assortment in, and it, the more you put into it, the lower your kind of cost became. There were some challenges with that, especially for a lot of the CPG brands. Amazon has really figured out how to manage CPG, and I think the really big CPG companies that are so used to brick and mortar are really starting to adopt Amazon more and more and more. It's still nowhere near as big as like Walmart stores and Target stores and Kroger and Albertsons and things like that for a lot of these companies and brands. But there's so much more adoption happening there. And you look at like variety packs are like the number one way to sell in Amazon in many cases, right? But then you have these like GoPuff and DoorDash and like 7-Eleven-esque convenience type platforms that are competing very much. And Amazon is very aware of that, and they have the most pronounced delivery infrastructure in the US by far. So, they're going to leverage that. And that 30-minute delivery, it's less, right? Within 2 minutes of placing an order, that order is going to be picked, packed, and shipped. That's like kind of what they're aiming for right now. So they're in these like very hyper local regions that have, a faster delivery speed into like, work areas or residential areas that are very, very dense, so that they can go deliver these larger shopping baskets to, customers. And I think the problem with Amazon today, different than Prime Now, is that a lot of these deliveries from these stores were like onesie, twosie type deliveries they were just unprofitable. And like that external selection, I think, was competing against with Amazon's internal selection. So I think this is like all of the learnings from Prime Now and Amazon today and putting into this new Amazon Now product that is going to be more precise with faster deliveries, better price points. It's going to be a delivery charge, though. I think it's like $1.99 per delivery. If you're a Prime member, up to a certain dollar amount of the cart size. So they're going to incentivize higher carts also. Again, Amazon's density is just as important as the brand's density. So they want to have more deliveries in those more dense areas. So Philly and Seattle downtown are great places for them to start. I'm excited to watch this. And, I think for me, selfishly, like that inventory control, that proximity to the end customer, like that's the piece that, we hung our hat on. And that's obviously, we weren't the first person to do that. We were a follower in Amazon's eyes on that cadence. And it's amazing to see that more widely adopted right now across.
Yeah, what are you most excited about for 2026? What do brands need to be thinking about or be aware of?
I think when I first started Davinci selfishly, I think a lot of people thought micro fulfillment centers were a robot in the back of a grocery store. I think that myth is dispelled. I think 2 years later, brands were terrified of putting their inventory into multiple locations and selling on multiple marketplaces in many cases. And I think those ships have sailed. I think brands really know that they need both inventory closer to the customer and multi-marketplace visibility and real-time data to continue to drive the business. And I think that there's like a lot of things that have been brought in-house from brands. Like if you look at like the agency model and how some of that is shifting, and how like Rufus has changed the way like content and search and imagery is like displayed on Amazon right now. And I think this piece of same day, 1 day, 2 day fulfillment is now like another moment for us all. And there's some great operators outside of Davinci that are great at what they do, and there's a lot of business to go around for a lot of people. And I think it's just a really exciting time to be in this supply chain and supply chain technology space.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's the delivery aspect, the number of platforms that are out there, how many transactions are taking place on each platform. Like they require a speed of delivery now that most people could have gotten away with, right? So back in the day, as direct to consumer, people had it in their mind. Okay, if it's Amazon, right, it's going to get to me in 2 days if I'm a Prime member, right? And if it's direct to consumer, hey, it's 5 to 7. That is so drastically switched that anything at this point in time, I think I'm getting in 2 days. And if I'm not, like you were talking about the Amazon, warehouses right now. If I go on, I was just looking to order some gifts earlier today, and it doesn't arrive, right, for like 4 or 5 days now.
Oh, Amazon's pushed out Promise. FBA is maxed out. There's a lot of items that like never even made it into FBA or Vendor Central. Even if it's in there, it might be a non-sort type item. Like that's not even Prime eligible in many cases. Like
if you're not giftable,
there's a big drop off. Like if you have a snowstorm happening, good luck finding ice melt that's going to deliver tomorrow, right? Like these are
right.
real things, right? So you can call Davinci, we could help you with that, but or you're forced into your local store, right? And like I don't think brick and mortar is ever going away for things like that. And I think just in general, but like there's a clear shift that's more pronounced right now than it ever had been. And you can see it.
Yeah. Awesome. What's the number one thing brands need to know for 2026 across the board?
It's Amazon and not Amazon verse. And that and versus or strategy, I think is really important. And you can have speed and precision and cost and quality. Like you don't have to like pick one or one of three. Like you can have all three in some cases now.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's an Amazon and I think that's huge. And anybody that's living, in the past and looking at it like it's Amazon versus everybody, I understand from their mindset, Amazon's it might be, but from a brand, you need to be looking at Amazon differently.
Actually, I don't agree with that. I mean, look at multi-channel fulfillment. They've added Walmart in there, TikTok's in there, Shopify's in there. I mean, that's like unheard of, right? And they're incentivizing that. They want more of that. I mean, of course, they want to see that first-party data too go through their platforms, but I mean, I think that's a big deal. So I think Amazon does embrace Amazon and.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Thanks, Corey, for your time today. This is awesome. We're going to have a follow-up conversation. I'm going to write down the other 7 questions we didn't get a chance to get to, but we'll have you back on. Thanks for being such a great friend, partner, supporter of the network. Everybody, I encourage you to reach out to Corey Apirian, the team at Davinci Micro Fulfillment. They're helping a ton of brands in the network. They're all around awesome. They should be part of your 2026 plans. And with that, we're going to wrap up this episode of the Digital Deep Dive. Thanks, everybody, for listening in.